Thanks, Donna. Thanks to Donna and Janelle for inviting me to come here tonight. I'm really honored to be here. I love public speaking. I love doing this. So this is not a work for me. This is just absolutely a pleasure. I don't know if you guys have heard Ben Zander. Have any of you heard Ben Zander? Amazing speaker. If I could even get close to him, it would be my dream. I was at an EO, YPO, WPO last week event, and he just literally stimulated everything I thought. I wanted to open with something that he started with. He said there's a story back in the 1940s where there was a British person looking to expand his empire into Africa to sell shoes. And so he was looking there, and he sent two of his men out there. And back then they had telegraphs. And the first person went out, and he wrote back to him and said, "Situation hopeless, stop. No Africans wear shoes, stop." Second person wrote back and said, "Opportunities abound, stop. No Africans wear shoes, stop." So one thing that's amazing with Mr. Zander is that he talks about the art of possibility. And if you think about it, any time in our life, we have what we encounter with two things that are right in front of us. Something that is dreadful, negative, and horrible in a downward spiral, or an opportunity that's just absolutely just pregnant with rich, rich opportunity to do and see what you can. And so what I want you tonight is, maybe you've heard it all. Maybe this is something not new for you, and that's okay. But what is the pearl? What is there that's there for you to see tonight or hear tonight that may be different? So what we're going to do tonight is have a little fun with the brain and a little bit fun with the heart. And I want you to sort of see differently tonight. So we're going to rethink it all. And before I start, I also wanted to quote one of my great mentors, if you will, not obviously, not directly, but Steve Jobs. We're here to put a dent in the universe, and that's what I'm here for. So what does that mean to you? I'll tell you a story that made a big, profound resonance for me. Is I was working with a newscaster who's doing some rejuvenation, and she told me that she went into a room with 20 women, and there's this woman standing up there in front of all these other women talking about transition zones of the mid-face cheek and this and that, and then she went up to her afterwards and said, "Are you Dr. Lamb's patient?" And she said, "Yeah, how did you know?" He says, "You sound like him." And so I want you to know, it's not for more business. This is my passion, is to change the world in a small way. And I want you to hear tonight a different voice that may be different from what you're acclimated to hear. And so if you open your ears tonight, you'll see something that hopefully has changed my life in the way that I see it. So the first thing I want to talk about tonight is why. Why should you be here tonight for the next 20, 30 minutes and listen to me? What is the reason? We need to do Act 1, which is why. This is a three-part act. And so three-part play. So the idea first is why. I want to get to the brain. I want you to start thinking before we can understand the what. So, how do we age? Profound question, right? I mean, what is the aging process? Is it all about wrinkles and little things and gravity and pull that back and tuck it up? I'm going to challenge you tonight and tell you probably not. Something that we're not used to thinking about. Is it all about that? Because if it's all about that, then I should leave right now, because I'm pretty much done. But the answer is no. So, is it this? No. It's not this. So, in any great play, there's got to be a villain, right? What's the villain? The villain's this. This is the antithesis of what I want you to know tonight. It's not what I want you to know. This is not what I want. And how do we feel sometimes? Sometimes, well, hopefully you don't feel like this. This requires a lot of effort, okay? But the idea is that, you know, do we have bad hair days? Do we have bad lighting days? Do we not like it except for a certain time of a certain, someone smiling, a certain period of time in a certain room that we look better? What if I can challenge you to say that I could have you look better without effort, and it wouldn't matter what time of day. It didn't matter if you had makeup. It didn't matter if you had no sleep. So that hopefully we'll never get to that situation. So, what are we doing here? I'll make it very simple. This is it. If you remember anything tonight, fill a glass of water. I'll leave you with that very, very simple metaphor, because that's what I do. So, what is it? It's fat loss. It's loss of volume to the face. But do we want to look 20? No. Yeah. Okay, well, yes, come on. That's going to cost you twice as much. All right, then we're done. No. What's interesting is a lot of women, when they pass 35 and they retrospectively go back, there's a lot of baby fat in youth. And at some point we get to an ideal, and then we get a little bit hollower. And yes, we gain some weight, and there's heaviness in the lower face. But I'm talking mainly in the mid-central face and around the eyes. And so there's this loss that's progressive in nature that I want to challenge the way you see the world. It's a different shift. So we don't need to get there, do we? You know, and a lot of women, what's interesting is that if I need to understand my work, and 80% of my business is women, I got to understand how you guys see things, right? Because I'm not a woman. I've worn skirts to try to figure it out. No, I'm just joking. But the goal is to say, no, I don't want to scare you guys. But the goal is to say, what is it? It's the idea that women are afraid of looking full. And so we're not talking about putting a lot of volume in it. Just put a little bit. And I can actually take a wide face and narrow it. I can take a narrow face and widen it. And I'm going to talk to you about the idea of balance in a few minutes. Not symmetry. I need to take the word symmetry and burn it from your mind. We'll get there in a moment. So if this is where you are, this is where your mother is, this is where your grandmother is, it's just talking about filling. And is it permanent? And again, I'll get there in a moment. But yes, you just lose a little bit every year. But what I do is permanent. And that's what's so beautiful about this. The other great thing is there's no incisions. So it's moving away from incision-based procedures. Although I'm going to talk about some small incision things that we could do, or bigger incisions. But the goal tonight is to get you introduced to a way of seeing and a way of thinking. And that's more important than anything. So what are we talking about? Act 2. Let's get to the core of what we're talking about now, framing the eye. Because a lot of times what I see when people come to me, they're focused around the mouth because it's something, a crease or a flaw or a fold that's disturbing them. But remember one thing, we interact with each other around the eyes, okay? We interact with the eyes. But what should we do with the eyes? Is it too much or too little? I'm going to challenge you tonight that it's too little. Too much is I've got a bag. Too much is I got a brow sag. Too much is I got to cut it. Too much is that I got to tuck it. And I'm going to tell you it's the exact opposite. I'm going to turn it right upside down on you. Should this woman have her brow lifted? Perhaps. Should she have her bags removed? Perhaps.
More so.
But here's the thing. I didn't take her bags out, and I didn't lift her brows. I filled it with fat. But she looks less fat. How's that possible? Because I sculpted her face to be balanced. I narrowed it. Okay, what's balance and symmetry? Let's use another metaphor. Think of a glass of water on a television screen. If I asked you how big is this glass of water, you would say, I don't know, it's on a television screen, right? But everything's relative. I put a shot glass next to it, that thing looks huge. But what if I put a pitcher of water next to it? It looks small. That's balance. Balance means that I look at a face that's too narrow and I gently widen it. A face that's too wide and I gently narrow it. So it's about balance, and symmetry is unachievable and it's irrelevant. I don't want to challenge that. You say, well, in the animal world there's symmetry is everything, but we're not in the animal world. This is not about little symmetry things because I can't get it ever symmetrical. And you shouldn't strive for that. It is not what's beautiful. I can show you asymmetric, beautiful models, and it's not symmetry. Now, if there's deformity, you can go look at my cancer reconstructions. That's a different story. But we're talking about mild asymmetries exist across the planet. But we can immediately see someone more attractive than others. It's because of balance. And so my goal is not to change your identity. It's to enhance it, but to structurally improve it through balance. And so let's use some concrete ideas of what balance is. So if you look, the cheekbones are strong, and what I've done is I blended below the cheekbones and into the front of the cheekbones and into the jawline, into the front of the jawline, and I've created an oval. So ovals are beautiful, and I've widened the face here. God forbid I've widened the face. And the one on the left has already had a brow lift and facelift. It's not bad, it's not unattractive, but there's now balance, and that's really what I want you to see. Here's the same thing. This is no cutting. It is the plasma skin resurfacing. It's a little lip enhancement. But if you look, could I have taken a little skin from the upper eyelids? Sure. Yeah, I could have. But it's filling. It's filling and shaping where that little bit of skin removal is, in about 20% of patients, my gravy. It's not the meat and potatoes. It's rethinking it. And here's a challenge for the jawline. I'll give you a little taste of what I'm going to talk about in 2 minutes. What do you see here? What you see there, perhaps, is a fold. What you perhaps see there is a jowl. But I'm going to blow your mind and say it's none of that stuff. It's negative space. How do you see negative space? You can't. It's the absence of the anterior chin. It is the separation of lip to chin. And I'll prove it using a different study. But I just want to introduce that concept to you and reintroduce it in a few minutes. Who is this? So, And my mom is 2.5 years out from one procedure. Is it permanent? We're going to get to that answer, but that's a taste of it. And she just turned 70 last month. So,
what kind of water are you drinking?
okay. We're selling the water out there, $4 each. No. We're getting there. We're getting there. Okay. 5% rule. What is a 5%? I lost it. You want to help control the crowd? Okay. All right. It's over. Thank you. No. 5% rule. Blink and tipping point. Anyone read Gladwell? Amazing guy. Read all his books. Amazing guy. Blink. What is blink? Blink means that in a fraction of a moment of 20 feet, I made my decision about the way you look, and you've made the decision about the way I look. That fast. That fast. But how do we judge the world? Remember that earlier slide? If you could do that, Doc, I would be happy. But would you? Because has it made a professional social impact? You all are professionals out there. Have I made an impact for you? No, I haven't. I haven't. Because then I pull Gladwell's other book, Tipping Point, which means I got to get enough change to look great. And that means a lot of little things. So what is a 5% rule? This is my idea. If you come in to get your brows up there, I'm not going to do it. If you just want this tucked up, I'm not going to do it. What? You're not going to do it? You're going to take my money? No, I'm not going to take your money. I want my cheeks out to there. Nope, sorry. I want this fold just filled. Okay, well then I probably will do it if it's just a little filling thing. But my goal is to say that if I can improve the brow by a small margin, the lower eyelids by a small margin, the anterior cheek by a small margin, the lateral cheek by a small margin, the buccal transition, what? Yes, buccal transition by a small margin, and I'll speak English in a moment, the anterior chin by a small margin, the pre-jowl sulcus by a small margin, and I achieve 70% success, God forbid, we'll all fail at that rate, right? But 70% success in 20 to 30 areas, you look good. And remember one thing, we don't age in an eye bag. We age in little tiny pieces everywhere in transition points. So I have to have you rethink this from the ground up. How long does it last? Was there a question about that, Janelle? Here's the answer. It's written in the sky. Let's talk about it. How are you going to respond to me psychologically in your first year if you do have this done? Doctor, I think you're a fool. You're crazy. 1 week out, 2 weeks out, this is not right. 3, 4 weeks, I'm in love with you. You're the best guy that's ever happened to me. It's a very stormy relationship. And my goal is to show you how you're going to respond to me. At 3 months, doctor, you're crazy again. You're a dip. Now, the dip means that you're going to dip to the point you may not like it. I know you're thinking why. We've finished the why. No, I'm just joking. We're going to go back. But we get better over 2.5 years. What? I heard fat doesn't last. My friend had it done over in San Antonio. My other friend had it in Denver. Your friend, I always say a Hyundai and a Ferrari are both cars with 4 wheels. So do you want to say they're the same car? Because if not, I'll sell you a Hyundai for $250,000, and there's a waiting list for my Hyundai. The point is, don't use a label and condemn it. Condemn the person doing it. Okay? Because this is not the same. Why does this occur? Let's get to the why. Let's go back in time for a moment to understand this. Hair restoration, I do a lot of it, but I want you to understand that I really thought about this, and this is an original idea that I think all the time. And I go back and I say, if I put a graft in, graft doesn't grow all of a sudden. It's not like you just put a hair graft in and it starts growing. It takes 6 months. Why? It needs blood supply. A fat graft, initially with a little shock of swelling for the first 1 or 2 weeks, looks too full. And it's not a result. And then it dips at 3 months. You know what the other doctors do? It's gone. Let me fill it up. And then they have pigs at 2 years. It's not right. Or they don't know what they're doing. They don't have a result in 2 years. I get consistently excellent results, and I stand behind my work. The next thing is thinking about this is that, what's that dip phase? When the fat cells shrink a little bit, and then they come up again. And they continue. And in my hair restoration work, 6 to 12 months is the magic window, but it continues to trajectory improve up to 18 to 24 months. But what happens after that? You lose a little more hair, just like you lose a little more volume. This is now 1 month out. Bit too cheeky, but not bad, okay? And 3 months, not a big dip. Not everyone dips. About 80% don't. But no matter if you dip or you don't, you look better about a year to 2 out. 6 months out, maybe there's a slight dip. but it gets better over time again. At 11 months, it's better. And at 15 months, I think it's about the best. And this is no incisions, this is no pulling, and this is permanent. How do I correct procedures? I do the opposite. Haven't I just told you the whole night about the opposite from beginning to end? I've done the opposite from the first slide. So I just opposite the person that did it. So if you look at someone, this is no makeup to no makeup 1 year, overlifted brows, over-articulated eyes, over-sucked out cheeks, over-sucked out chin, I've just blended it. It's not a perfect result. These are improvements. They are not perfect. So here's another example of over-implanted cheeks, over-lifted brows, and the identity's been robbed. And if you saw her on TV with the Channel 8 News, Fox News, she said, her mother said, "I have my daughter back." I think that's a powerful thing. And her brother cried when she saw her when I finished. To me, that's great, because it's rethinking it. All right, we're going to have a few gravies now. This is the little bonus stuff. We're almost done. Just finishing up. What else? We've had enough of this, okay? Let's just talk about, I'm not going to get through a lot of stuff. I'm just going to do a few things. Giveaways. No, not freebies. We're talking about things that give you away after the face. It's your hands. I did my mom's hands. So it's just balancing the two areas of your body that are exposed without clothing. With clothing, excuse me. Got carried away. So it's just putting a little fat in there. My mom's hands are 2.5 years out. So it's just another bonus thing that I can do to make you look better. So is there gravity? I thought you just told me there's no gravity. Yeah, the only thing that has gravity is the lower face. So we need to rethink this. Brows being lifted and cheeks being lifted are probably excessive in 99% of people. I do a brow lift probably once a year, and it's a small temporal lift in someone that has hooding. But that is about it. So is there gravity? Yes! I'm not a purist. I'm not a reductionist. I want you to see the big picture, though. So, if the neck needs lifting, we're going to lift it. And that's going to be how, though? How are we going to lift the neck? Not back, vertical. How do you avoid a pullback? Is you just don't pull it back. Interesting? Long talk. I just want to introduce a concept tonight. So verticals. Verticals are important. And what else besides verticals? Small incisions. Because what I want you to see is curves are the key. How do you do a scar revision on someone that has a bad, ugly scar? You make it so curvy you can't see it. It's a curve here, 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 here. And if you make it curve under a 2.5 magnifying loupe, you can't see it. In addition to that, how about I don't remove any of your hair? What? How about instead of making a 6 centimeter incision, I make it 2 millimeters that ends right here? Would that be better? Of course. Because you know what? It looks terrible, and I have to go transplant 20% of my patients, we're going to get there, I transplant their hairs because after brow lifts and after facelifts. Why are they taking hair out? Because doctors don't understand hair patterns. They make them look frightening. This is the book I wrote on fat transfer. So I've written 2 books on this. And I want you to understand one thing. Is it artistry? Is it expertise? Is it technique? It ultimately means that it's this. And I leave you with a quote by Jobs. You've got to find what you love. Your work is going to fill a large part of your life. And the only way to be truly satisfied is to do what you believe is great work. And the only way to do great work is to love what you do. If you haven't found it yet, keep looking, don't settle. And I want to leave you with that thought. This is my life. This is everything I love. I think about it, I live it, and I get more excited than my patients. They come back, you're not that good, this is okay. And I'm in love with it. I'm in love with what I do. So that's, if anything I can relate to you, is that this is not trivial to me. And if it's trivial to you, then don't be my patient, it's okay. I'm very serious about this. So I thank you for your attention tonight.